She lost. Then the entire arena stood up. What happened next left everyone speechless. There are moments in sport that transcend the scoreboard. Moments so raw, so unexpectedly human, that they reach straight through the screen and grab you by the chest. Madrid just gave us one of those moments, and if you weren't watching, you need to hear about this right now. Welcome back to Court Vision Plus, the channel that doesn't just cover tennis. We live it, breathe it, and feel every single point right alongside you. Today, we're diving into one of the most emotionally charged weeks the WTA Tour has seen in a long time. Because what unfolded in Madrid wasn't just tennis. It was a masterclass in grace, resilience, and the kind of quiet courage that makes you remember exactly why you fell in love with this sport in the first place. Let's start where the world's attention landed first, with the woman who shook the entire Madrid arena, not with a trophy, but with a gesture so simple and so devastating it reduced a stadium full of thousands to absolute silence. Aryna Sabalenka walked into the Madrid Open as she always does, with that volcanic energy, that thunderous presence, that air of someone who fully intends to leave with the trophy. The world number one. The reigning Australian Open champion. The woman who has been the most dominant force in women's tennis for the better part of 2 years. Nobody, and we mean nobody, had Hailey Baptiste circled on their upset radar. And yet, clay has a way of rewriting the script entirely, doesn't it? The surface doesn't care about rankings. It doesn't care about momentum, or reputation, or how many Grand Slams you've collected. Clay is an equalizer. A brutal, unforgiving, sliding red equalizer. And on this particular day, Hailey Baptiste played the tennis of her life. Sabalenka fought. Of course she fought, that's what she does. The Belarusian warrior doesn't know any other way. But the shots weren't falling, the footing wasn't quite right, and Baptiste was locked in, dialed in, playing with a ferocity and precision that simply could not be denied. When the final point was over, the scoreboard told a story that almost nobody had predicted. Sabalenka had lost. Now here's where things get truly extraordinary. Because when most players lose, especially top seeds, especially early exits, especially on a big stage, the natural instinct is to gather your things, exit quickly, and process the defeat in private. That's human. That's understandable. There is no shame in that. But Sabalenka didn't do that. What she did instead has been talked about in every tennis corner of the internet since the moment it happened, and it deserves every single second of conversation. She walked to the net, not with her head down, not with that tight-jawed mask that athletes wear when they're holding themselves together, but with a glowing, genuine smile. She wrapped Baptiste in a sincere, warm embrace. Not a perfunctory handshake. Not the kind of hollow gesture you do because the cameras are rolling. A real, full-hearted acknowledgement that said, "You were better than me today, and I respect it completely." That alone would have been enough. That alone would have made headlines. But then Aryna Sabalenka did something that stopped the entire arena cold. Instead of walking off the court, she stopped. Right in the middle of the Madrid clay, this extraordinary athlete placed her hand over her heart and simply stood there for a moment, taking it all in, the crowd, the court, the atmosphere. And the crowd, sensing exactly what was happening, erupted. Not the polite, relieved applause of fans who just watched an upset. A full, thunderous, standing ovation. The kind that rolls over you in waves and doesn't stop. The kind that makes the hair on the back of your neck stand straight up. Madrid wasn't saying goodbye to a loser. They were sending off a warrior with every ounce of love they had. In that single moment, Aryna Sabalenka reminded every single person in that stadium, and everyone watching around the world, that tennis is so much more than results.
Career-defining, knocking off the world number one to earn your spot in your first WTA 1000 semifinal.
It is character. It is dignity. It is the willingness to stand exposed in defeat and still offer the world your authentic self. Champions aren't just made in the moments of victory. They are revealed in the moments of loss. And what Madrid witnessed that day was a champion being revealed in the fullest, most beautiful sense of the word. But Madrid didn't stop giving us drama there. Not even close. Because while Sabalenka's exit was being dissected and celebrated across social media, there was another story playing out, one that the Philippine tennis community, and indeed the global tennis community, felt deeply. Alex Ila was there too. Now, if you've been following Court Vision Plus for any length of time, you know exactly how we feel about Alex Ila. The 20-year-old from the Philippines has become one of the most compelling figures in women's tennis, not just because of her talent, which is undeniable and still developing, but because of the journey. The sheer, unrelenting journey. Professional tennis at the highest level is a brutal environment. It chews through prospects with ruthless efficiency. Talent is not enough. Mental strength is not enough. Physical conditioning is not enough. You need all of it, all at once, firing on every cylinder, on the right day, against the right opponent, when the pressure is at its absolute maximum. And even then, it might not be enough. Ila knows this as well as anyone. Her Madrid campaign ended in defeat, and the result stung, as all losses sting when you know how hard you've worked to be in that position. The Filipino phenom, who has been steadily climbing the WTA rankings and drawing more and more attention from the tennis world, came up short on the day. And on social media, the reaction from her supporters was immediate and passionate. Because that's what the Filipino tennis community does: they show up, they feel it, they carry it together. The message from her team and fan base has been consistent and powerful: not every point goes your way. Not every match ends in victory. But heart never fades. And that's the truth that makes Alex Ila's story worth following so closely. Because what she's building right now, in these tough draws, in these disappointing exits, in these moments of falling short on the biggest stages, is the foundation of something potentially extraordinary. Legends aren't built in the easy weeks. They're built in the hard ones. In the weeks where you lose and come back to the practice court the next day anyway. In the weeks where the result doesn't reflect the effort and you refuse to let it define you. Ila is still writing her story. One swing, one fight, one comeback at a time. And those of us paying close attention know that we might be watching the early chapters of something truly special. Now, let's zoom out from Madrid for just a moment, because there is a much larger picture being painted here, and it is absolutely fascinating. The women's game right now is in a genuinely electric period of transition. Sabalenka has been dominant, yes, but the clay season has historically been the territory where the established order gets challenged. Where upsets happen. Where new names announce themselves to the world. And what we're seeing across the clay swing is a series of ripples that could have massive consequences for Roland Garros, the biggest clay court championship on the planet. Sabalenka losing in Madrid to Baptiste is precisely the kind of result that shifts the energy heading into Paris.
She's made it!
It doesn't necessarily change the power dynamics completely. Sabalenka is still Sabalenka, and she will arrive at Roland Garros as one of the top threats regardless of what happened in Madrid. But it introduces a question. A shadow of uncertainty. Is she fully tuned in for clay? Is there a vulnerability being exposed? Are there players on the tour who should now believe, more than ever, that the world number one is beatable? The answer to that last question, unequivocally, is yes. Hailey Baptiste just proved it. And in a sport where belief is half the battle, that matters enormously. On the men's side of things, the clay season has been producing its own dramatic storylines, and the one that sits at the very center of everything is, as always, Carlos Alcaraz. The Spanish sensation, the hometown hero on clay, the man who seems born to play on this surface, has been dealing with the kind of situation that sends chills through every fan of his. Injury. Alcaraz withdrew from the Barcelona Open with a forearm and wrist issue, and for a brief, agonizing period, the tennis world collectively held its breath. Barcelona is Alcaraz's home court in every meaningful sense. The atmosphere there when he plays is unlike almost anything else in tennis. The crowd doesn't just cheer for him, they become part of the match, a living, breathing extension of his energy. Losing him from that event was a blow for the tournament, for Spanish tennis, and for every fan who was counting down the days to watch him play. The questions came flooding in immediately. How serious is it? Will he make Rome? Will he make Roland Garros? Because if there is one tournament above all others where Carlos Alcaraz's absence would be genuinely catastrophic for the sports storylines, it is Roland Garros. The defending champion on that surface. The player who turned the red clay of Paris into his personal canvas in 2024. The rivalry between Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner, the most compelling dynamic in men's tennis right now, demands a Roland Garros stage. It demands both men healthy, firing, competing at the absolute peak of their extraordinary abilities. Sinner, for his part, has been navigating his own turbulent waters this season. The Italian world number one dealt with his doping case situation earlier in the year, emerging with a 2-month ban that kept him off the court and the cloud of that entire saga hovering over his season. His return to competition has been closely watched, his results scrutinized, his body language analyzed. But Sinner is a remarkably composed individual, perhaps the most mentally settled of all the young stars, and he has continued to produce tennis of the highest quality when he has been on the court. The prospect of an Alcaraz versus Sinner final at Roland Garros is the kind of thing that keeps tennis executives awake at night, awake with excitement, that is. Two of the greatest young talents the sport has ever produced, the two players who have been trading blows at the top of the men's game, meeting on the grandest clay stage of all. That's not just a tennis match. That's an event. That's a moment that gets talked about for decades. But it requires both of them to be there. Both of them to be healthy. The latest updates on Alcaraz have been cautiously optimistic. The indication from his camp is that he is managing the injury, taking the appropriate time to rest and recover, and targeting a return to full fitness in time for the Rome Masters and subsequently Roland Garros. For every Alcaraz fan, and for every fan of spectacular tennis in general, that is the news to hold on to right now. He is working. He is recovering. He is not done. The clay curse, as some have taken to calling the injury, is not going to write the final chapter of Alcaraz's clay season. Not if the Spaniard has anything to say about it. And the man absolutely has things to say about it. Now, there's one more element in this sprawling, dramatic clay season narrative that we haven't touched on yet, and it might just be the wild card that shakes everything up in ways nobody is fully prepared for. Because Novak Djokovic is back. If you thought the 2025 clay season was already packed with enough storyline to power a whole series of these videos, the return of the man who has won Roland Garros 3 times and transformed himself into the greatest tennis player in the history of the sport adds a dimension that frankly defies easy analysis. Djokovic's season has been complicated. He underwent knee surgery not long ago, and the recovery process, and the subsequent return to match sharpness, has been the subject of constant speculation. There have been moments where he looked like the old Djokovic, the unstoppable machine who makes everything look effortless and inevitable. And there have been moments where the mileage on those extraordinary legs has shown through, where the sharpness hasn't been quite there. But here's what you need to understand about Novak Djokovic before you write any narrative that involves him falling short. This man has proved the doubters wrong more times than any player in the history of the sport. Every single time someone has declared him finished, diminished, past his peak, he has come back and deep into reserves that other players simply don't have and produces tennis that transcends age, transcends injury, transcends every logical analysis. So when Djokovic shows up to Roland Garros, however his build-up has gone, however many questions surround his form, you do not dismiss him. You do not look past him. You absolutely do not pencil in anyone's path to the title without accounting for the possibility of a Djokovic who finds his best tennis under the lights of Roland Garros. The clay season of 2025 is setting up to be one for the ages. You have Sabalenka on the women's side showing both dominance and vulnerability in the same week. You have Alex Ila continuing her rise with the passionate backing of an entire nation behind her. You have Alcaraz in a race against his own body to be fit enough to defend his Roland Garros title. You have Sinner moving through the season with quiet, relentless purpose. And you have Djokovic lurking, always lurking, the greatest wildcard in the history of the sport. And threading through all of it, giving it all emotional texture and meaning, are the moments like what happened in Madrid. Sabalenka placing her hand over her heart as an entire arena stood and roared. Because tennis, at its finest, is not just about who wins and who loses. It is about how you carry yourself through both. It is about the grace you show when the script doesn't go your way. It is about the fighters who keep swinging, keep believing, keep pushing forward even when the results are painful. That's Alex Ila getting back on the practice court after a tough loss and putting in the work that fans never see but always benefit from. That's Alcaraz strapping up his wrist and doing the unglamorous, grinding rehabilitation work because Roland Garros is waiting and he refuses to let an injury be the thing that takes it from him. That's Sabalenka smiling at a net after a defeat because she has built something inside herself that a single result cannot touch. This sport demands everything from its participants. Every ounce of talent, every reserve of mental strength, every bit of physical endurance. And when you watch these athletes, even in their most difficult moments, perhaps especially in their most difficult moments, you realize that what they're giving you is something genuinely rare. The clay season is not even at its peak yet. We're building. We're accelerating. Every match from here until the Roland Garros final is a chapter in a story that is going to have moments we cannot yet predict and emotions we cannot yet fully imagine. The upsets are coming. The breakthroughs are coming. The tears of joy and the agony of defeat and the breathtaking rallies that make you leap off your sofa at midnight, all of it is coming. And Court Vision Plus is going to be here for every single second of it. We are not going anywhere. We are watching every match, tracking every development, feeling every moment right alongside you. Because this is what we do. This is who we are. This is the community we've built together. People who love this sport deeply enough to feel Sabalenka's exit as a kind of bittersweet beauty, and to feel Alex Ila's setbacks as a personal thing, and to count down the days to an Alcaraz versus Sinner Roland Garros semifinal with the kind of anticipation that makes ordinary time feel like it's moving in slow motion. So here's what we need from you right now, and we mean this sincerely. Drop a yes in the comments if you're still believing in Alex Ila's journey. Tell us who you think wins Roland Garros this year, because that conversation is going to be absolutely electric. Tell us whether Sabalenka's Madrid exit genuinely changes how you see the women's draw in Paris. And if you think Djokovic is going to come out of nowhere and remind the entire tennis world exactly who he is one more time, you better let us know, because that debate needs to happen right here, right now, in this comments section. If you are not yet subscribed to Court Vision Plus, this is your moment. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and join the community that never misses a beat when it comes to the sport we all love. Every match, every twist, every breathtaking, gut-wrenching, beautiful moment of this clay season, we've got it covered. The red clay is calling. The stories are unfolding. And we'll see you in the next one.
Stop.